If you've been doing SEO the same way for the last 5 years, there's a real chance your traffic is about to drop off the cliff. So, not because Google's punishing you, but just because people who used to find you on Google aren't searching on Google anymore. They're starting to ask ChatGPT, right? They're asking Perplexity. They're reading Google's own AI overviews instead of clicking through to anyone's website, right? So, the rules for showing up in those answers are completely different from the rules for ranking on page one. That's what GEO is, and that's what we're getting into. So the shift is already happening. Google rolled out AI overviews. ChatGPT added native search, and Perplexity built in an entire search engine that doesn't show blue links anymore. It shows answers with citations underneath. So for business owners, this changes one specific thing. It used to be about getting to position one. Now it's about getting your name inside the answer. And those two things are different games, okay? So with two different playbooks. So just a quick recap, because we have to be clear on what SEO actually is before we can talk about, what's different. So SEO, which is search engine optimization, is the game of getting a web page to rank inside a list of results on a search engine, mostly Google. You optimize for keywords, you build backlinks for authority, you handle the technical side, like the page speed, the crawlability, the mobile schema. You write you write content that targets specific search queries, and if you do it right, you climb the rankings and you get clicks. So that's the game. It hasn't really changed in 20 years. The signals have evolved, but the game is the same. Be on page one and get the click. Now, GEO is different because GEO stands for Generative Engine Optimization. Is the game of getting an AI engine to mention your business inside its generative answer algorithm. So ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Google AI overviews, those are all generative engines. They don't return a list of links. They return a synthesized answer. And underneath that answer, sometimes there's a citation list, a few sources the AI pulled from, to build its response. Now, to win, to get the condition to win that ranking, it's a citation. Your business gets named inside the answer with the link back to your site, listed in the citation panel. So here's the part most people miss. The AI doesn't crawl your site in real time and decide who to cite. It pulls from training data, structured data, and live, search retrieval, and it makes a judgment call about who's the authoritative source on a given topic. So that judgment call is, based on signals, and you can actually optimize for that. Just not the same signals you use for traditional SEO, right? So what's the difference, right? Ranking versus citation. Well, SEO optimizes for position on a list, and GEO optimizes for inclusion in an answer. And here's the part that trips people up. It's completely possible to rank number one on Google for a keyword and not be cited on a single time by ChatGPT or Perplexity for the same query. I've audited sites where this is exactly the case. They've got the traffic from search, but they're invisible inside the AI answer for the exact same search intent. So SEO is built around keywords, right? Strings of text people type into a search bar, right? And GEO is built around entities, recognize things in the world, people, places, products, businesses, and concepts. ChatGPT doesn't think about best roofer in, Hudson Valley as a keyword string. It thinks about it as what are the entities that the actual businesses that are recognized as roofers in the geographical, entity of Hudson Valley, right? If your business isn't a recognized entity, you don't even enter the consideration. So entity recognition comes from structured data, schema markup, Wikipedia, Wikidata, Google Knowledge Panel, consistent business citations across the web. That works. That work is different from the work you did from, for keyword ranking. So now you have backlinks versus authority signals. So SEO has always been heavily weighted on backlinks, right? The number, the quality, the relevance. And now GEO uses backlinks too, but it weighs them differently. It cares about a much wider set of authority signals. So it looks at original search, original data, expertise markers, author bios, credentials, published case studies. It looks at whether the same expert is cited across multiple authoritative sites. So it looks at the structure of the content itself. It sees as a clearly factual, well organized, easy for a machine to extract, right? So That is what most operators are missing right now. They're building links the way they did in like 2019. With the AI engines are looking for a completely different signal stack. Okay, so do you need both? Short answer, yes, for now. But Google still drives, more search volume than every AI engine combined. So if you abandon traditional SEO, you give up the traffic that's still paying the bills today. So you keep doing that, but and this is the part you can't sit on, right? So the share of the search is going to AI engines. It's growing every quarter. Some industries are seeing 15 to 25% of their old search traffic disappear into into AI answers in the last 12 months alone. So if you don't start building geo signals now, you'll wake up in 2027 invisible on the channels that will drive the next decade of organic discovery to you. So today's 80% SEO, 20% GEO, 2027, 50% SEO, 50% GEO with, illustrative, not a forecast footer, if you will, but the smart play is keep your SEO infrastructure running and layer GEO work on top of it. A lot of foundational work overlaps. Schema is good for both. Like high quality original content is good for both. But a clean technical site is good for both, and the differences are the optimization layer. All right, so three concrete things you can do right now to start building geo signals. One, open ChatGPT, open Perplexity, right? Type in a query a customer would use to find your business. See if you get cited. If you don't, that's your starting baseline. You can't fix what you haven't measured. Two, audit your schema markup. Most local businesses, the sites, they have either nothing or like a generic like local business schema with 3 fields filled out. All right, you want organizational schema, person schema for your teams, service schema for what you sell, and FAQ schema on your content pages. All right, properly nested, properly connected. All right, so 3, you want to get listed in the entity directories. AI engines actually pull from them. So not just Yelp and the yellow pages, right? Yeah, Crunchbase, Wikidata, G2 if you're SaaS industry, right? So specific directories with strong structured data. These are the entity recognition signals. They tell the AI you're a real recognized thing in the world, okay? So that's the framing. SEO is still real. Geo is the next layer. You need both, but the work for Geo is different than most operators haven't even started. Okay, so if you want to know exactly where your site stands across ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Google AI overviews, pretty much all of them, and how you compare to your top 3 competitors on citations, that's what the AI search audit is built for. Okay, so there's a link in the description. I can do a complete AI audit for you delivered within 5 business days, and we'll do a 30 to 60 to a 90-day plan as well that I can deliver right to your inbox. Okay, so thank you for watching. Appreciate your time. I'll see you on the next one.